Welcome back to another episode of the podcast From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, recovery, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about. We will talk about it on the show today. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. It does not matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on this platform. I believe we should all share our stories. It will help others recover, help others through their traumas. You never know who you're going to help with your story. So I believe wholeheartedly in sharing your story to help you recover too. It's important just to share, and share. Don't hold those feelings in, everyone. But before we get started here, please head over to the Apple Podcast. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps us grow organically. And head over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and turn on those notifications. With no further ado, I'd love to introduce to you my next guest. I got Chase Tolleson from the Illinois area of the United States. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you, Chase?
Definitely. Appreciate it, Chris. I am a lifelong fitness fanatic. I spent 4 years in the Navy, and I had an inner critic running the show for years. And then I got out of the Navy, opened a gym, started changing people's lives physically, and realized there was more to it. And then in changing people's lives on the personal development side of things, I realized I was helping change my own life too. And I dove into the words and the language that we use and how that shapes our reality, the stories in our head and whether they hold us back or propel us forward. And we were going to record a few weeks ago, and serendipitously, I had a major life occurrence between the two times when we were going to record and when we're recording now that is very appropriate for From Darkness to Success. I was able to use these tools, the words, the language, the breath awareness that I've developed in helping my clients to get through the sudden death of my 27-year-old brother. And came out of nowhere. We still don't know why. All the tools that I know, that I've known, were the basis for any journey, personal development, overcoming things, are now helping me heal in a healthy way and be there for my family so they can heal.
What was it like? I remember you messaging me a couple weeks back, telling me about this briefly. What was it like? Your brother just didn't wake up one day, but what were the thoughts going through your head at that time? How have you gone through your grievance period with it? And I'm sure you're going to be grieving for a while ahead, but you can't beat yourself up, get down on yourself either. You got to move forward as well.
Yeah, great question. And my first thought was, what the fuck? And it stayed there for a few days. Right away on that day, I knew that the biggest first piece was awareness and making it real. So on our way home from the hospital, I started repping in the car, my brother died today. And then I realized that I couldn't rep it in the car because I was going to start crying. So I waited till we got home. My brother died today. Took a deep breath and then long exhale. A few more times until I could say that without cracking up, without breaking down. And that created the basis. So now when things hit me, when I realized that seeing my uncle hug my dad and give him that comforting hug, and that I will not get a physical hug from my brother in his meat suit again in this lifetime, I had an awareness as to why, as opposed to still being in denial that my brother even died and having to battle both of those things at the same time. So that's been the biggest piece, is the ownership.
I like that you say ownership. It's important to take ownership in all aspects of life for your actions, your reactions, and whatever it is you're doing. I'm really learning about ownership in recovery myself now, taking ownership for the train wrecks I cause and stuff like that. But it's important to take ownership in everything in life. Doesn't matter what you do, good, bad, or nothing. Just take ownership for it. If you fuck up, take ownership for it. Don't deny it. Don't deny it and just keep pushing it down further and further, because that's not what I've been taught to do through life. It's about having humility and just being straight up and honest, even if you fucked up bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's massive. And it ties back to what I work with my clients and what I've implemented with myself with this is so many people are in this victim mentality. And the victim mentality is defined as a state in which an individual accepts themselves as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. And it depends on a habitual thought process and contributions. It depends on habits and contributions to stay in that dark place, to say life is horrible. Like shitty things happen. My brother died, and I could very easily, because the voice has come up that, well, he was the golden child. He did things better than me. He was the one that, was the middle ground, this and that. And I could fall into that so easily. And the awareness around words and what we focus on is what we see. Do you know what the reticular activating system is?
I've very briefly heard about it, but maybe you could explain it for the audience and stuff like that. I don't know much about it myself, so
Yeah, of course. What kind of car do you drive?
I drive a Kia because I get given one. I don't have to pay for it. I just have to pay for my gas from work.
That Kia, when you bought it or when you knew you were going to start driving a Kia, did you start noticing all the other Kias on the road?
I get where you're going with this now. It's every car I buy. I never noticed them on the road until I started driving. I know exactly what you're saying. Like again, working at a Kia dealership, so I notice so many Kias now.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. So that's it right there. The reticular activating system is an extremely powerful filter in our brain, about the size of the tip of your pinky, and the words you use will shape that filter. So if you go through a loss, to use my experience, and all I talk about is how much I miss my brother and how much this hurts and how it could have been me. And why wasn't I able to help him as his older brother, even though it's, to the best of our knowledge, it's not a situation anybody could have helped. If I start using words like that, I'm going to see all the reasons that life is unfair, that I should have been able to help, that I'm the black sheep, and which is so far from the truth. And so many people do this in these traumatic experiences and in day-to-day life. My clients, for example, if you're in a fitness journey and you're 280 pounds and you've been trying to get down to 210 for 7 years, it's not because it doesn't work. You have a voice in your head and stories in your head and words in your head that are telling you that you're a 280-pound person. And until you rewire that reticular activating system, you will go through traumas and see all the horrible stuff. You will go after goals and see all the reasons that you can't achieve them. So that's where the words and the ability to be aware of your breath are massive tools that I believe every individual should have in their toolbox.
I love that you say that though too. Going back, the reticular activating system. People, I hope you go back and re-listen to this little part on this episode too, because that's so important. Rewiring your thoughts, your brain. It's almost like having that fixed mindset and that growth mindset. You know what I mean? I can't do this. I won't do this. You know what I mean? You got to really switch those words up. It's very simple too. It takes time. I want to do this. If I fail, I will try again and try harder the next time. You know what I mean? Those types of things. You got to switch the way you talk to yourself. It's all about that self-talk.
Yeah,
And when you can do that and get out of that fixed mindset, because if you get stuck in that fixed mindset, I'm reading an awesome book about it right now. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, so I'm not even going to try and remember. But it's crazy to see like how many of these big bosses in the States in these huge corporations had all these fixed mindsets, and it was all about them and not about everyone else. But there's certain ones that had that growth mindset and went to their employees. How can we grow our company better? These types of things and stuff like that, and asked from the bottom and, work their way up the top, not just all about them. You got to have that growth mindset in life.
100%. And on the level of the reticular activating system and words, do you know where abracadabra comes from?
It ain't a magician, is it?
No, it comes from the ancient Aramaic for "with my word I create."
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
So that's what that means.
That's what that means. And a lot of people are running around, everybody is running around in that sense, using quite literal magic. Like, if you look at how simple at the base level it is to use words that will shape your filter in your brain and create your perception of your reality and which opportunities or do not see right in front of you, then we're all on a base level casting spells. And it's whether you're aware of your spells and whether you want to cast black magic or white magic.
Wow, I never even knew that. That's crazy that abracadabra came from an ancient Armenian word there and what it means too, man. That's wild, dude. Like I thoroughly this is like therapy to me every week when I chat with people on my podcast. I'm just learning new things. It's awesome to learn new things every week and take that, retain that information to go forward and use in my own life or help others out and stuff like that. And I hope this helps someone out, that's listening today.
And if it's all right with you, I would love to share a tool for individuals to be able to help themselves through their own language.
Yeah, go ahead, Chase. By all means, man. That's
Cool.
what it's all about on this show, man. Helping
Awesome.
others.
Cool. So it's called the Enlifted Method. And I am one of the co-hosts of the Get Enlifted podcast that's going to be starting in January. Enlifted is the program that gives coaches practical mindset tools to unlock freedom and confidence in their clients. And what the Enlifted Method is a 4-step process. So you have a story in your head, something you want to address. How many people have yet to even write that down? So step 1 is write it down, get it out of your head and onto paper, because I promise you, you are creating a misery tornado that spins tighter and tighter in your head. So get it onto paper. Second step, read it. Read it out loud, conversational pace, word for word, and feel it. After we get done with that second step, we check in. What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? How heavy is that feeling? Does it remind you of anything? And if it reminds you of an instance earlier in life, title that, write that down. You're going to do this process with that story later on. And then the third step, go back and read it again and do it slower, like 70% speed, like you're driving with your foot on the brake and the gas at the same time. Because what this does is allows us to start slowing down and truly seeing the words. And then we check back in. Where are we? How did it change when we read that? After that, take all the punctuation marks, the commas, the periods, and possibly the ands and the buts. And you take a big breath at all of those points. Giant inhale all the way down into your belly. You should be making your waistband tight when you breathe. Do not breathe into your chest, all the way into your belly. And then a long exhale at every period, comma, and sometimes the ands or buts. After you get done reading that, check back in. How has it changed? Are there any sentences that hit very hard, that drove home a certain emotion? What thoughts are you having after reading it? Get those on paper. And then look at it. Look at what words you're using to describe this. Can we flip them? And this is where the awareness of a coach, or as simple as going through a language program so you have the awareness, can help. Because the words that we're using to describe that story, the story may be accurate and we may have some opportunities to switch words in the story. The words that we're using to describe our feelings around that story and the perception that we're shaping using our reticular activating system can be shifted. And that's where you can affect massive, great change and growth.
I love that you say that too. And it just sent something off in my brain there in your third step there about slowing it down to about 70%. That's what I was taught. Like, I'm in sales, leaving my phone number on the phone. If I'm leaving a voicemail, slow it down. 519. They get that. It sounds silly, but it actually works. You will get a lot more people calling back if you actually slow down when you're talking to them. Yeah, it's hard to do at first, but once you get used to it, it has a lot better effect of you getting callbacks and stuff like that, I find too. And I've seen the difference, talking so fast and stuff like that, to just slowing your conversation down. Or even when you're talking to someone, when you have someone talking at your desk with you, trying to work a deal out, just slow it down. That was my word of the year this year, back in January, for my fiance, was patience and slowing it down, Chris. Just
That
slow down.
I love that. Is there a specific tool you use to help yourself slow down?
I honestly, I don't have any tools really. Like instead of coming up with, if I have many ideas, and that's the thing, like I get hypomanic sometimes and not in a bad way because I get very creative. I've done this whole podcast myself. No, I don't outsource anything. Everything's done by me only. And but I had to teach myself all those things. So I taught myself things like one step at a time. Learn one thing at a time and then move on to the next one, or start one project at a time, not start six and then I'm all over the place. You know what I mean? Just slowing it down in that sense, just going through my list. And if I have a list of 10 things, I only get four done. Oh, there's tomorrow's another day.
I love it. And I have two things that have come up for me in these last 2 points. One being the difference between a conversation and an argument, and another being that action dispels overwhelm. The first one, the difference between a conversation and an argument. A lot of people will go straight to, well, tone of voice, yelling, disagreements. And for me, the difference between a conversation and an argument is whether you have already decided what you're going to say before that person stops speaking. So, one of my best tools for that I give people is when someone else is speaking, see how long you can exhale. See how long you can take a breath out, because you're going to have to take another breath in before you start talking. And that will allow you to create space between your reaction and your response. And the second piece, action dispels overwhelm. To your point about simple steps, creating a list. So many people are like, I have so much to do. I have all these things to do. And when we put it on a list, maybe we have 10 things. Maybe we have 5. Maybe there's only 3 and we just were overwhelmed on which ones to take action on. And when we make that list and we say, okay, I'm going to do this. Cool. Guess what? Action precedes motivation. You don't get motivated, then do something. The easier way to do that is to take action. You get that little dopamine hit, that reward pathway. And the next thing you know, you want more of it. And it feels a lot better than scrolling TikTok or Instagram. And that's why action dispels overwhelm.
I love that you say that. And I was listening to you speak there and you said you just see how long you can exhale and take another deep breath. I was doing that, you know what I mean? And just sitting there and taking your words of wisdom in here. It's truly amazing what can happen when you listen to someone and just shut your mouth. You know, for so many years, I had that. And then sometimes I still do that to this day, but I've really learned to tone that down, especially in the world of sales. You know, I've only been doing sales a year and a half, but you have to learn to listen and shut up in sales. You know, just listen to your customer, let them talk, let
Yep.
them say whatever they need to say and listen to them. Because if you're not listening to them, you might miss a key point in there that's going to help you close that deal or whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is you're selling in sales. You have to shut up. It's a key point, and instead of just and trying to sell them something that they're not even after, listen to what they want. Ask them what they do as a profession. Build a rapport with them. Those types of things.
That's so key right there. And so many people coaching at a base level is sales. Every time you get a client to buy into a habit shift or a mindset shift, you've closed a mini sale, and it carries over there is the listening. And when you develop the skill to listen to others, you will also be learning to listen to yourself, to hear your thoughts before you speak them. And when you can listen to yourself, and you can essentially, I've made the joke before that I think about what I'm thinking about before I think about it. Because when you develop that awareness, you can step back and look at what's going on inside your head before you start verbally dumping it out into the world. And then that's where you start subconsciously rewiring your reticular activating system, the filter that creates your reality. And next thing, this is the logical side of the magic of manifesting, because you've shifted your awareness to see all the things that will take you where you want to go. Because in my opinion, it is not, for most people, it is not the lack of opportunity that dictates successful or not successful. It is the awareness around the opportunity and the caliber of action taken on the opportunity right in front of you.
100%, man. It's if you have an opportunity in front of you, don't sit on it. Don't wait for, the guy down the road to start doing it and you kick yourself in the ass. You have an idea, an opportunity, put it down on paper and start working on it right away. Whatever you have to do, go to Google, go to YouTube. I love watching educational stuff. That's how I learn. Like I try not to watch like just mindless, mind numbing crap on YouTube anymore. When I'm on there trying to learn things, a better podcast strategy to market my podcast, how to put it out, things to say in my podcast, those types of things. It's all about learning to me now. I have a great point coming up. The other day, my manager came up to me and he's like, Chris, I see you have an entrepreneurial mindset. That's why I'm asking if you want to do this about going around to some bigger companies, some smaller companies, and offering an exclusive deal from yourself, from the dealership to customers at this business so that they get a discount, but it's bringing me more business too. So he's like, you come up with a business plan, bring it to me and the owner, and we'll sit down and figure out a way to make up some flyers or whatever. And you go out to the companies and give them your pitch and see if you can get on their deal board or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it's ways to bring more money to myself. I asked, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no because you've never asked. Like I went and asked if I could put cars on Facebook Marketplace. I saw other car salesmen doing it and stuff like that in our used car lot. They're like, yeah, sure. Whatever, as long as you put like the legal jargon that you have to put on as from a dealership, by all means. And it's been bringing me business. Why not?
I love that. One of my buddies dropped this one on me a couple years ago. I don't fail. I start over at the top because wherever you are, if you run into a roadblock, if you take action and fall on your face, you still
I
hit.
love that you said that. Say that one again, man. Repeat yourself.
Yeah. I don't fail. I start over at the top. That's, yeah, because if you're taking action and think about it, like when you were a kid and you learned how to walk, you didn't take your first step, fall over, and then give up. We'd all still be on our bellies. So lean back into that innate drive to move forward for a lot of people. And there are chemical imbalances out there. I know for a fact I have ADHD. There's depression that is chemically wired in people. And there are a lot of people out there that think that they have anxiety or they have depression when really they're expressing anxious tendencies or they're expressing depressed tendencies. And we can look at that word, depression. Depress I on. You're pressing on yourself. And when we lean back into that innate drive that taught us how to walk, take those steps. That's why, and we're going full circle to action dispelling overwhelm and paralysis by overanalysis. I'm on a mission to rebrand it as inaction overwhelm. Because when we sit still, the voice inside will start telling us that we're not worthy of the actions that are right in front of us.
It's so true, man. It's that little guy up top, those little evil voices in your head that start telling you these things and then you get stuck in this rut. And that's why I when I have an idea, when I do something, I just go full throttle into it. Let's get this done. Sometimes some days are better than others. Some days I really don't want to get out of bed. And sometimes I got to push myself, like, or going to the gym. I really don't care to go to the gym. Like, who wants to go to the gym and lift weights all the time? But it's good for my mental health. I enjoy it. I feel so much better after I leave that gym too. Like sitting in and I enjoy it because I don't have a sauna at home and I get to go to the gym and sit in that sauna too at the end. That's the reward to me, I find. Just sweating it out at the end of my workout just for 15, 20 minutes and just sit there in peace and quiet.
I love that, man. And that goes back to, the simple stuff that moves you forward. That's such a great example. Thank you for sharing that. And this is all a system, right? The little things, whether it's the words or moving to feel better or, hey, yeah, it was hard to get out of bed today and I still did it. Those little pieces that add up. A lot of people are out there looking for the magic pill, the one thing, the the TikTok hack, the growth accelerator, the thing that the crypto coin that'll make them a billionaire tomorrow. When really, if we take when, not if, but when we take the simple steps and layer them on themselves. Next thing you know, you look back after 10 years of taking simple steps and you're a completely changed person for the
The the way for growth in my mind, man, it's not all about that hack like you were just talking about, hacking the algorithm. It's called fucking consistency. Consistently show up, consistently put out content. If I say I'm putting out 2 episodes a week, I've stuck to that consistently, and I've seen the growth. It's not huge growth, but I have a following now, and I'm happy with the numbers I have. I don't need millions of downloads or tens of thousands of downloads a month. I know the stories that I share, the episodes I share, they are helping others. I get feedback from not all the same individuals, but lots of the same individual all the time. I really enjoyed that episode. That really helped me out on this day. You know what I mean? So I'm clearly doing something. It's called consistency, though. You got to consistently put out that content, not just put it out when you want. And, oh, this one's going to be the big one. You know, this one's going to make me grow by 10,000. No, it's not. Consistently show up.
yes, the shortcut is often the long road. You get people, and I've seen it time and time again in the fitness industry where they're like, okay, cool, I have this growth thing. And they run this ass backwards sales play and they get a bunch of people in. And then next thing you know, a bunch of people leave and they still don't have a sustainable business because they didn't build it on consistency. And the ironic thing is, these are fitness coaches that tell people that consistency will get them to where they want to be with their weight loss.
Oh, man. I see it all too often, like, even in podcasting, people, "Oh, my numbers aren't growing, blah, blah, blah." I've heard it from a couple of great podcasters, so it isn't all about the numbers. It really isn't, man. I don't even worry about the numbers. I'll tell you right now, Chase, I don't even care about it. When I go to upload an episode, yes, I see how many were there, but I shut it down. I just upload the episode and move on with my week. Whoever it reaches, it reaches. I upload the episode to YouTube. Whoever it reaches, I don't worry about those numbers anymore, man. Like at the beginning, yes, I'll be honest, I did. But once I heard a couple, key points from a really good podcaster, I don't care about the numbers anymore. You know what I mean? It's just about consistently showing up for the following you have.
That's beautiful. And consistently showing up. I'm dude, I have abracadabra tattooed large across my back in Aramaic. So I'm gonna go back to it. Consistently showing up ties back into the words because we could go as simple as I don't like to fail. Where does that put your reticular activating system? On failure. Okay, cool. I don't like to fail. I don't want this podcast to bomb. I don't want to gain the weight back. I don't want to do this. All you're going to see is the reasons that failure will happen, the reasons that you're not going to get to where you want to go. So, if we affirm it, if we put it in the positive, like I do provide value, I am growing, I'm looking forward to the success. I'm glad that I worked out once this week, as opposed to I only worked out once this week. And when we reframe those words, all of a sudden the consistent action becomes regular. It's for any goal to become permanent, there must be an underlying change in identity. So become the person who lives your goals via language and filters in your brain.
That ties into my next question, failures. What have you learned from this year's failures of yourself? You're coming up to the end of the year here and stuff like that, but what have you learned from this year's failures, Chase?
Great question. My gym that I run, it's been open 7.5 years. Opened it when I got out of the Navy, and I am a tinkerer of an entrepreneur. I like to change things up and make them better. And I've learned that even in aiming to provide the best possible service, I am a much better coach than I am a business owner or a manager. I'm a natural leader, I've been told, and trying to be a manager burnt my fire out in dealing with personnel and what they wanted. And so my lesson, my starting over at the top is that moving forward, running a business is not going to be at the top of my list. Helping people is at the top of my list. Doing things that are regenerative for me are the lesson that comes out of that. I tried to strong arm myself into business owner, buy the books, manage the people, grow the coaches, do the marketing. And it went against every fiber of why I opened a business, to be able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And the failure, the lesson, the starting over at the top, I went too big. I had a nice little gym and we were decently successful. I said, we're going to expand. And then when we expanded, we had more room to do different things, provide cool programs. I got ahead of myself. And to wrap that answer into a little bow, the failure or the lesson or the opportunity that is now in front of me is to focus first on serving. And when I do have an opportunity in the future to manage people in a different aspect, in a new aspect, to lean into that with all the lessons that I've learned, to be open and to be clear and present from the start and to set clear expectations.
I love that you say that too, and you sort of jump the gun on yourself. Sounds like you learned your lessons, and sounds like maybe you'll segue out and hand out work that you don't care to do. You know what I mean? You're going to do the stuff you love to do and let someone else do the stuff that you don't really care to do, whether it be a manager role or hiring someone to do the things, the marketing part and stuff like that too. You know what I mean? Like when you take on so much, it does burn the wick at both ends. And I'm slowly seeing that in a sense. I don't do as much in depth with the podcast editing anymore. I found a quick way to get them out there. I don't need to do a whole ton. I found a quick way to remove the filler words, to do all those types of things. And it's the click of a button. I'll pay for software. I don't give a shit. If it's going to make my life easier and I don't have to edit like crazy anymore, I do it, man. Find ways that are easier to do your job.
I love that. Yeah, it's the grind has been over glamorized and people are grinding themselves down to the bone. And it's the narrative and the story, to go back to stories that we've been taught. Go to school, get a piece of paper, work for 12 hours a day for 40 years, build a family, and that's where your fulfillment is. And then you'll be able to retire. Hopefully, if you live that long, you might drop dead in your 20s. And sooner or later, you'll be able to enjoy life on your retirement if you saved and you're still healthy. And it's amazing that there's a shift going on that I'm seeing anyway, to individuals living their lives in ways where they use software to edit their podcasts so they have more time to do the things that they want to do. Anybody taking action like that to create more time for themselves and the things that are fulfilling to them, all about that.
100%, man. I'm all about it's not even shortcuts, but this stuff actually works. It's proven. I did my research before I started paying monthly subscriptions or yearly subscriptions for the things I use. But I truly believe in the things that I'm using now, and it has freed up so much time. You know, on my end, I can usually get everything done within a day for my 2 episodes a week, and boom, I don't have to worry about anything other than posting the content on Mondays and Fridays. That's it. Other than that, it's pretty easy peasy.
I love that, man. That's very cool. And kudos to you for getting there. Because I do have a personal podcast that comes and goes. And as I step into hosting the Get and Lifted podcast, it will probably more go than come. And there's a filler word for you. That podcast, my personal podcast, I'm still editing it all. I'm in GarageBand with the audio and pulling clips and doing this. And that is one reason that podcast is intermittently published, because I'll be all about it for a few weeks. And then something will happen, like, you know, my head coach left at the gym, and then the next week my brother died. Well, I'm not going to be editing podcasts for a couple weeks, so the Primal Man Pathway will hit pause on publishing.
Hey, life happens and it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll get back to it, man. But it is what it is at the end of the day, too. Life happens on life's terms, man.
It's funny you say that. I just read a journal entry from when I was on vacation last year on the beach with a moderate amount of psilocybin mushrooms having been ingested. and I got really reflective in my journal. And life happens. Life happens to us, or life happens by us. And some things do happen to us. People dying unexpectedly, getting in a car accident. And there are things that happen by us. And when we can separate the two and realize that most of life is happening by us, because of us, whether if we're complaining about we chose to work that job and we choose to continue to stay there if we're not actively looking for other jobs. If we have a horrible relationship at home, life doesn't happen to us. That's a two-way street. And if it is truly toxic and that your partner is just absolutely horrible, you're choosing to stay. And when we can take that ownership and recognize that there are pieces of life that happen to us and kick us right in the crotch at times. And when we can own that 90% of life happens by us, then when life happens to us, we're able to grab that event by the nuts and tell it that this is our life and we're going to keep on moving.
Sort of segue into this next question too. What do you do or where do you go when you need to blow off some steam? I'm going to guess you're going to tell me your gym.
So I enjoy cannabis. I enjoy plant medicine, as I foreshadowed in the journaling. And part of my journey has been taking the gym and turning it into a place of movement meditation, if you will, and not diving into cannabis or mushrooms or alcohol when I need to blow off steam. If we're using the gym to blow off steam, there are people that use the gym the same way an alcoholic uses a bottle of tequila. They run there and they hide. So to blow off steam, yes, I will go to the gym sometimes. Like the Monday after my brother passed on Saturday, I was screaming during a set of squats. Every once in a while, sure. And I dive inside, man. I look at what the thoughts are. Why are they happening? Let's get them on paper and let's meditate. Let's quiet the mind. Because if we're constantly having to blow off steam, if that release valve is constantly opening, it begs the question, why is the pressure building? And sooner or later, if we're always using something to blow off steam, as opposed to asking why the steam is there, then that valve, your system, your piping is going to pop. Release valves break. I worked the engine rooms in the Navy. Like release valve systems, there's a reason that I was there to operate them because they're untrustworthy. And if you're relying on a mechanism as your release valve, as opposed to diving inside and asking why, sooner or later, that valve is going to break and that steam is going to come pouring out onto your life in a way that you do not appreciate.
I love that you say that, man. Those valves are gonna explode if you don't take care of them and don't bottle up that anger if you have some steam to blow off. And don't go I like that you point that out though too, because going to the gym and hiding is just the same as me going and grabbing some hard drugs or grabbing a bottle of booze before I got clean and sober. 'Cause that was my go-to. Every time something went bad, and it wasn't even going bad, it was just all up here in my noggin that things were going bad. Things weren't going Chris's way is what it was. So let's go get high or get drunk and solve that problem. Let me tell you, it did not solve any problems. It just made them 10 times worse the next day or whenever I came out of my, you know, drug-induced psychosis, basically. What the hell did I cause here? Why am I in jail now? Those types of things. Like, it didn't cause me it didn't do me any good, I'll tell you that. So, like, meditation, I love that you say that though too. You know what I mean? That's something I need more of in my life too. Meditation is huge. I've heard many great things, but I've tried it several times, but I need to consistently start doing it.
Yeah, thank you we're back on the consistency train. And if you're listening to this or watching this and you think, I don't have time for meditation, I don't have 10 minutes for meditation, cool. Meditate for 20. Because
I read too, cut you off there for a second. I read the Atomic Habits book, and it even said in there, Fuck, you can meditate while you're making your goddamn coffee in the morning, even if it's for 2 fucking minutes at the kitchen island, making your toast or whatever it is you make for breakfast, bagel, cereal, or whatever. Even if it's for a minute or 2 minutes, you can do that while you're doing that. You don't have to. Some people I've heard friends tell me they like to do their meditation while they're driving. You know what I mean? Obviously, you don't fall asleep, everyone, but there's different ways to meditate while you're still awake. You know what I mean? Like, I know friends that will just leave the music. They don't turn any music on. They don't turn anything on. They just leave it quiet, even if it's for a 3-hour drive, and they get that time to think to themselves.
I love it. And there are guided meditations out there for while you're driving in your car. A great active meditation for those of us that have, for anyone out there that doesn't like to sit still, go for a walk, a 45-minute walk alone with zero technology on you. Leave your phone, your Apple Watch, your Fitbit, your Whoop at home. Go for a long walk in nature if you can, with nothing else and nobody else except for your voice. Because if you put yourself out there for 45 minutes, you will find some thoughts to address.
I love that. I like going, so I like nature myself. I'm getting more and more used to getting back out to nature after over 2 years clean and sober here now. And it's just crazy to think. I was sitting there just after I cleaned up the last time a couple of years ago and was sitting there with my fiance and looking around. I was like, I've never actually just experienced the beauty just watching the ducks float down the river. You know what I mean? It was just mind blowing and how like peaceful it was and tranquil it was just watching these few ducks just playing around in the water and stuff like that. Just brought me back to as a little kid almost.
I know that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that because how many people are missing the beauty right in front of them every single day because they're focusing on all of the bad?
Do you know how many people walk down the street, especially in Toronto? Toronto's a huge city. I don't know if you've been there before, but it's crazy to see how many people are looking down at their phone and have bumped into me or ran right into the back of me or crossing the street and not even paying attention, almost getting hit by cars because they're buried in these phones and just not like when I go out to these big cities, I love just to people watch. I just love to sit down or walk around and just find the shenanigans. Sometimes there's beauty in just everything in life.
Yeah, and that's a choice that we can make and something that we can rewire is to see the beauty. As you're talking, it reminded me, of a post I've made in the past sometime on social media where, you know, I realized I was out on a walk with my dogs and I realized the whole time I'd been looking at the sidewalk about 20 feet in front of us. I had been looking down and I was like, what am I doing? So I picked my eyes up and looked at the horizon. And so many people, if we extrapolate that, are looking down at their feet as they go through life, as opposed to picking their eyes up and seeing the horizon, seeing what's out there for them. We can look at you know, this conversation we're having right now around physical beauty and seeing the trees and the birds and the rolling fields or the beautiful architecture or the smiling people. That's cool. And carry that over into your journey. Where is the horizon that you can look at to find where you're going, to truly lay your path down?
It's amazing, man. It's so true. Just experience the beauty that's out there, everyone. Enjoy life for what it's in front of you. I'm guilty as charged of going to the park with my kids or my daughter and being on my phone instead of just enjoying watching her run around, swinging and stuff like that. I've guilty as charged many times just on my phone or doing this. I can go, I can just sit on my phone or instead, I'd started to bring a book with me instead of sitting on the bench where I could see her and stuff like that and bring a book. I don't get much reading done because she's always over, "Come check me out," and that's fine. But at least I brought that book and learning something or had an intention there, reading instead of being on my phone mindlessly scrolling and stuff like that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing as it's prompted to go back to the story I started with my 27-year-old brother dying. People can be ripped from this existence at any second. And if we're passing up the opportunity to be truly present in the moment, to know them and create memories and to be in life, so many people are wrapped up doing things when they forget that they're human beings and that we're here to be, to experience. So take the time, take the deep breath, slow down, and see what's right in front of your face.
Exactly. I love that you say that. Just look and see what's right in front of you and enjoy it at its face value. Enjoy what's in front of you, everyone. It's important. You never know when that loved one or that person's going to be gone and ripped from this earth, like Chase just said. It happened to him with his 27-year-old brother a couple weeks back. And he really wishes he gets to give that big hug to me, but he'll never get that chance again. So enjoy the time with your loved ones and be in that present moment, especially coming up on this holiday season and everything. Sorry. Just enjoy that time with everyone around you. Put those damn phones down and enjoy the time. Don't worry about looking through the lens of a camera and posting the crap to the gram. Although I probably will have some posts from Christmas and stuff, but it doesn't need to be there all the time. You don't need to have 50,000 stories in your Instagram or wherever, reels every 5 seconds to show what you're doing. Just be there presently with everyone.
Yeah. And there is immense value in take the picture if you want and keep it for yourself. That's yours. That's your memory. And where is the need, unless you're building a business or whatever, where is the need, the want, the desire to share that memory with the world coming from? What are you seeking by posting that happy family photo or that picture of your vacation? Like, if you are truly present and you're truly enjoying it and you want to take a picture for memory, cool. And what is it that's driving you to show it to everybody else?
Very good point, Chase. Very good point, man. Before we go, I got one last question too. So if you could start a secret society, what would be its goals and who would you include?
Ooh, I love this question. That is a phenomenal question. I'm ready to answer it. All right. Secret society. The goals would be to eradicate the victim mentality and any conflict language from existence. And I'm going to go there. The goal would also be to turn 5-MeO DMT into an aerosolized version so that we could drop it over the capitals of the nations of the world. Because I honestly believe that if politicians everywhere learned what true power and love feels like via that quick highway to the gods that 5-MeO DMT can be, we'd solve at least 75% of the world's geopolitical problems. So, yeah, we would fix the language and we'd also show love via aerosolized 5-MeO DMT.
I love it, man. I love it. We include all these politicians out there. That's probably for another conversation. Just showing love, compassion. I love that. Kindness. Before we go, everyone, though, when you're walking down the street today, when you hear this episode, this talk, be kind, reach your hand out, help that elderly person cross the street, open the door for the person that can't open the door, and expect nothing in return, too. Just do it out of the goodness of your own heart. Show that kindness, that compassion, that love towards everyone out there. And this world would be a better place. Let's all be humanitarians.
Yes, quantum physics says that we're all energy and that particles communicate through space and time. So, if you do something good that makes you feel good and you are gracious and loving to others, it will come back full circle. And the more people that do that, the more that, whether we're looking at quantum physics or the reticular activating system and people seeing good and the filter switching to good, the more that we will be creating love and peace in this world. Because when you experience someone being ripped away, when you experience loss of any sort, and for myself, when I experienced my brother just poof being gone, the silly arguments, the squabbling, the bickering, the gossip is so utterly worthless.
Boom. You hit it on the nail on the coffin there. Abracadabra. But before we go, though, where can everyone find you, Chase, on socials if they want to reach out to you? Maybe reach out, have a good chat with you like I did. If someone else wants to have you on their show, where can they find you, man?
Thank you for asking. Easiest place right now is Instagram at coach underscore Chase underscore Tolleson. I will be starting January 2022, one of the hosts of the Get and Lifted podcast. If you are a coach looking to unlock freedom and confidence using practical mindset tools in your clients, you want to be inside the Enlifted program. I promise you, it is worth 10x the price of admission. I've been trying to get them to raise the price. Also, ChaseTollison.com will be up and running shortly. It is being revamped, and my 12-week program, the Primal Man Pathway, will be live February 2022. I'm still taking one-on-one clients. The 12-week Primal Man Pathway will be a more refined delivery system to shape the body and mind that you've only dreamed.
Thanks again for coming on the show today, Chase. I truly appreciate your time. And before we go, remember everyone, head over to that YouTube page, hit that subscribe button on From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success, turn on those notifications, and head over to Apple Podcasts and, hit that 5-star review and help my show grow organically. It pushes it out to the people and helps me grow organically when you leave those nice comments, those nice reviews and stuff like that. But thanks again, Chase, for coming on the show today and just sharing your story, man. It was such an amazing and empowering conversation I had today with you.
Thank you, Chris. This has been a great way to kick off my Wednesday.
Thanks again, man. You have a good rest of your day.
You too.